Hello boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is Defub21 and today I thought I would give you my thoughts slash impressions of Halo Wars 2. Microsoft announced at the Xbox One press conference that they were going to do a free open beta of the Xbox One version of Halo Wars 2 for the week of E3. So I downloaded it, and I've had, well, this is a video recording you see in front of me, or you see in front of you now, is of the third multiplayer match I played. There's only one mode, multiplayer. There's no single player, no skirmish available in the beta, and it's 2v2 only. As you can see by the length of, we're on the loading screen, and to put it very succinctly, it's taken its damn sweet time. It is slow. I mean, it is a beta, and I think the game isn't due to come out till late this year, maybe early next year, if memory serves. I can't remember quite correctly. But it is a bit slow and clunky. The menus, what they are of the menus, are a bit slow to get around. It's still going. Still now we're waiting for the other players. Not quite sure about the frame rate actually in game. I recorded the footage at 60 frames a second, but I'm not sure if it's at 60 frames or if it's lower than that, or if it's all over the place. Like the previous game, you're kind of got this centralized base with these expansion slots where you can build buildings on around them, and I think you can upgrade the base and add more expansion slots as you go along. I think I played, I think I might have played a demo for Halo Wars 1, but I never actually owned the game. I'm very much a mouse and keyboard person for my real-time strategy games. A lot of the games that were announced by Microsoft, or that Microsoft talked about at the E3 press conference earlier this week, had cross-platform play. I can't remember if they said this one would, but I doubt it, because the gap between how fast and responsive a mouse and keyboard setup is, particularly in a real-time strategy game like this one, would give a PC player a huge advantage over someone playing on the Xbox One. And I'm not used to playing RTS games on. There were some attempts at it early on in the 360 and PlayStation 3's life cycle. They didn't really work because they're RTS games, and that's really more of a mouse and keyboard type thing rather than a console controller. So it's been a long time since I played an RTS using a console controller, and it's kind of felt a bit clunky and was a bit all over the place. I mean, visually it's alright. It's not, it's another game, it's another real-time strategy game that gets added to my naughty list of real-time strategy games that have been released since the original Company of Heroes, that don't really learn from that what was truly massive and truly, innovative real-time strategy game. I mean, the fact that neither Blizzard nor Electronic Arts, in other words, with Warcraft and Command & Conquer respectively, have never bothered to at least copy some design elements from Company Heroes 1 or 2. I mean, Company Heroes 1 was the most well-reviewed real-time strategy game in history. It sold really, really well. Company Heroes 2 has done very well, both from Relic, who've also done the Dawn of War series. And, it's still, you're not... It's in this game it's a bit different in that rather than kind of most strategy games where you like your StarCrafts and so on, where you have to kind of farm resources. In this you actually build the resource generators at your base, so power stations get you power, and these kind of supply pads where friendly transports come in and drop supplies on them generate resources, and those are the two resources you need to buy units, upgrade your buildings and so on. But it's still, it controls like, obviously doesn't control like StarCraft 2 because you're using a console controller, but in terms of the base stuff, you control a squad of infantry rather than individual infantry soldiers. Again, that's at least one step in the right direction, but there's not really much to it. There's no cover you can put your infantry through. The resource model basically does not, like Company Heroes, force you to go out and kind of grab resources or territory and or avoid turtling, as the term used to be. I think it still is the term in strategy games, where you just dig in at your base until you build up enough resources and then attack across the map. It does have capture zones. If you can see there at the top of the screen, you've got A, B, C, D, and F. The more of those you hold, the more rapidly your opponent's what's the word for it? They're effectively their lifespan, as it were, keeps going down and down. 4020, and 4000. There it goes, 4810. See, they're ticking down. They're red on one side, blue on the other, and they both have numbers, and they're both going down a steady pace. And the more of those you control, the more rapidly your opponent team's score ticks down to 0 and you win. I mean, it's visually it's all right, but it's I only from playing the demo of the original game, it doesn't seem to have done. One would think with creative assembly involved, in other words, those people responsible for the Total War games, including Total War Warhammer, has gotten very good reviews, which I must buy at some point. It's there doesn't appear to be any real meaningful kind of innovation over the previous games, and it doesn't represent really that much of a leap in terms of game design or gameplay design over the kind of strategy games or RTS games you were getting at the end of the 90s. It's like StarCraft 2, its multiplayer in particular is just, it's basically late 90s StarCraft, original StarCraft multiplayer, but with fancier graphics. For all intents and purposes. I'm sure there's someone who plays it really intensively will pipe up and say, no, that's not true, they've changed this, and this. That may be true, but it's the changes that do exist in terms of balancing and gameplay are so fine-grained that certainly someone who isn't like myself, who was never really a big fan of the StarCraft series to begin with, would not notice them. There's little transports dropping off more supplies for you. I found, this is the third match I've played, and I found the whole controller setup a bit finicky. For some reason, you'd use X, you could use A, B, or at least A at the very least to select a unit, but then to press to select a individual unit, and then X to, as your right click, telling them where to go on the screen or who to attack. You could use the right bumper to select every unit, group select every unit on the screen that was visible on the screen at any one time, which is what I tended to do the most. And it's not, it's a very much kind of a rock, paper, scissors type setup in terms of balance. The infantry can, the rifleman can shoot at aircraft and shoot them down. Some of the vehicles that are really good at killing infantry, and so on and so forth. But it's all, from my perspective, it's very much, seen that, done that. There are points across the map where you can actually establish new bases, which have been done there. Here's some big combat. So it all just turns into a big, horde mess where you throw a lob of troops at them and they throw a lob of troops at you. So you're trying to reinforce my ally.
We're losing domination point A to the enemy. We're losing domination point A to the enemy.
Yes, domination point.
Fire base constructed.
They would use that word, local wouldn't they?
Local unit.
Trying to dominate. But again, the two playable factions available are the humans and what are the other guys again? I've completed the Covenant. Yes, that's it, the Covenant. And to think me, I've got Halo 5 sitting on the same Xbox as we speak. I can't remember the name of the Covenant. You've got the kind of usual stuff you'd expect, like a lot of the Covenant squads are just, seem to be grunts with like one big guy. In the case, one of the two bigger, aliens the Covenant had, the ones with the hair, whose name I cannot remember. And the other ones who eventually rebelled. Eventually.
Generator constructed. We're losing domination point A to the enemy.
I really think about what much is there to say. Again, it's not in a great state, but in terms of its performance. And on one or two occasions when I was playing after trying to load screens, I thought maybe it was genuinely, you know, that it had frozen on me or crashed, but that didn't turn out to be the case. There's an informative little video that, you know, plays when you first load it up that shows you the controls and how you can do various things, and that's pretty much it. I think this is only one map, and this is it. Although your starting position does change it does appear to be random. Is there anything else I can think of? Yeah, it's kind of, you know, there's upgrades you can unlock to make your units tougher. There's upgrades you can do to your main base to get your access to higher tier units and structures. You can upgrade some of the structures. But when you see at the bottom of the center there, just back there, that's an upgraded power generator. Those are upgraded power generators there too, next to that, two of the sides of that base. And there, that base is upgraded now. It's got more expansion slots that you can build structures in. You can actually select these when you upgrade to a certain point. You get these effectively hard points where you can mount defensive guns, turrets, which I spent the money upgrading these, which considering how much they cost, it turned out in retrospect to be a mistake, because I did end up, this is the third match and it's the only one I've lost today playing it, just to ruin the surprise for you. They've got a somewhat kind of StarCraft 2-esque artillery and that kind of tank-like vehicle. You got to click on it and tell it to deploy, and then it fires and fires away. And apparently it's quite good against infantry. So that's why I use them. At least the tooltip says it's quite good against infantry.
Local units.
Copy.
Turret constructed.
Yes, it says my team is halfway to victory, but they've got more of the points than we do. What should I build?
Upgrade complete.
Oh yes, you've got you've a certain population count in terms of number of units you can have, but it's a population count that you can spend resources to upgrade, so you can have more units or just the similar number of much higher tier units that have much higher population per unit. Music's okay, audio's okay. I'm sure there's things like special attacks you can do that are associated with the officer you select, but I couldn't remember what button you had to press to use them.
Complying. If you can see it, I can.
So I just got a giant swarm of infantry there.
Copy that. Moving.
Combat reinforcements. Research. Turret constructed.
Locating target.
Deploying the artillery.
Local
Start shooting.
No clearance for that, sir. I predict high enemy casualties, sir. Proceed. Over. Calibrate system.
We've lost domination point B to the enemy.
Trying to use that robot to kill my vehicles, but or powered suit, or whatever you want to call it. So someone's hitting me with artillery from off screen. Here, I never really figured out what the hell was hitting me though, but did not win this fight. Didn't win it at all. Got some assistance from my teammate, but it's not going to make much of a difference, unfortunately. Just wasn't strong enough in the old anti-tank. You can, I think that's a special unit there he's also deployed. You can get effectively a Spartan if you're playing as the humans, but I never bothered unlocking those guys. They always tend to require too much micromanagement to be effective.
Of course, right away.
A bunch of melee guys with hand-to-hand weapons are pretty lethal.
Kodiak is up again. I've been targeted by artillery.
Yes, you have. And me desperately trying to produce more units. But alas, it won't. As you can see there, I think our score was on the blue side, so on the right. Our situation isn't good, and they've captured more. They've got more of the capture points in the map than we do. They've got 4 out of 5. So they're going to burn us down much more quickly than they're going to burn down. That's my friend's forces, the last of them gone. In retrospect, I probably spent, if I had not spent those resources on fortifying that base, I could have used them to build more units. I also still don't know if there's a building you can build to repair vehicles that are damaged, or a unit you could produce to heal your vehicles and your infantry.
Commander power ready. Commander power ready. Local unit. Hold on a little longer. We're nearly there.
Oscar Mike.
Oscar Mike.
Local unit.
It is difficult to do anything quickly because, I mean, if you look at the bottom left hand corner of the screen, you'll see there's kind of effectively a digital pad, and if you press left on that, it'll automatically send you back to one of your bases, which is kind of a way that allows you to move across the map quite quickly. If you press up or down, that'll also send you to where there are friendly troops. So, or at least where there was a group of friendly troops anyway. So you can use it to quickly move between formations that are away from your base. Because if you have to scroll across the map using the analog stick, it's pretty slow. Again, we're down to 440 points at this stage.
Numbers crunched and cannon loaded.
Infantry level 1. Receive.
Move. Again,
Upgrade complete.
too slow. Which is way too late.
What are my orders, sir? Deploying.
This is me forgetting
I got shells over these
what buttons I have to push to actually select things.
base is under attack.
Defeat. I have been beaten. But that's pretty much it. It's, you know, from a design standpoint, it doesn't seem to do anything radically different from what I played the first game. And again, by the standards of the much vaunted both Company Heroes 1 and 2, it just doesn't, you know, it's what I would consider to be, you know, in many respects, its design is out from what I would consider in many respects to be out of date. And there's just no, you know, as I said, it's, you know, there's just been, with the exception of Relic, what is left of their players in the market and some of the big AAA, big budget real-time strategy game design, they're just, you know, they're still sticking to the same thing. Build resource harvesters, harvest raw materials. You know, they don't use capture points like, you know, we have to capture resource like Company Heroes do. They're not using any kind of, you know, you're just throwing waves of troops at there's no real strategy. It's really a case of who wins is who gets their, you know, economy getting up and running and churning out lots of resources to spam your adversary with units, which doesn't really work in Company Heroes. Credit where credit is due. So I mean that's pretty much it. I certainly, if this is representative of what the final game will be like, I certainly have no interest in buying it either on console or PC. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you're more impressed with it than I am. And if you like this video, please like it. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. This is Dephobe21. Not really impressed at all with Halo Wars 2. Signing off. Toodaloo.